This is class number two about Passover. We talked the last time about exactly where Passover comes from and how it's a very basic foundation of Judaism and of all mankind, that God cares, God gets involved in the world. God not only creates us, but He creates us for a purpose, and that God wants us to carry out this purpose, and He'll help us to carry out this purpose. And what the whole idea of going out of Egypt is, and taking the Egypt out of us, and how Moses did it the first time, and how Mashiach is going to do it the final time. Okay, to prepare for all this, we have the month of Nisan. The month of Nisan is, like its name, is the month of miracles. Nis means miracles. So, first of all, we begin the month of Nisan. This week is, next week is going to be the first day of the month of Nisan. It will be on Wednesday night, and there's the Thursday, right? Thursday is going to be the day. That's what it comes out to. Yes, Thursday is Rosh Chodesh Nisan. The whole month of Nisan, we do not say Tachanun. For those people who say Tachanun, who pray, don't say Tachanun the whole month of Nisan. Also, the month of Nisan, there's a blessing you make on trees, fruit trees that have flowers on them. They're starting to bud. Best if you can find 2 fruit trees, you make a blessing when you see 1, and best 2 fruit trees that are budding. You make a blessing on the trees according to Kabbalah, and the Ben Ish Chai writes also about this. There are sparks of holiness, even souls in these trees, and you release these souls, you elevate them when you make the blessing. What is the blessing that you make? Sort of unusual blessing. I'll say it in Hebrew. Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech olam, shelo chiser be'olam al klum. Blessed are you, God, the King of the universe, that you have not made anything lacking from your world. Nothing is lacking from your world. Shelo chisar, that is not lacking, be'olamo, in His world, klum, in His world. Blessed is God. Uborabo, and that He created in it, brio tovot ve'elono tovot, good creations and good trees, lehano, to give pleasure, behem, through them, bnei adam, through people. That's the blessing that you made. Blessing on the trees. It's very important, maybe just a little bit, to understand what is a blessing. The main thing of a blessing is God's name. When you say God's name, and you're supposed to know and look, and if you can't hold in your hand what the thing that you're making a blessing on, before you make the blessing, you have to be. What is the idea of a blessing? The idea of a blessing is that we, through our power of speech, the Jews' power is in their speech. So when you make a blessing, what essentially it does, the word Baruch really means to draw down, if you want to call it. It draws down godliness from a higher hidden place, like you have higher mathematics. You don't understand. All of a sudden, you understand it's like high, and it comes down to the same thing. Godliness is more revealed in the world. Maybe we don't have eyes to see it, but nevertheless, that's the truth. So every time you make a blessing, it sort of puts the world a little bit of light in the world. In a more simple way, you're using your mouth to serve God, making a blessing. All right, the Shabbat, which is right before Passover, is called Shabbat HaGadol. Shabbat, the big Shabbat, and it's called that because a big miracle happened. Moses announced that the firstborn in Egypt are going to be killed, and the firstborn realized that Moses meant business, so they went to Paro and they said, "Let the Jews go. There's already been 9 plagues, and we're not getting anywhere with these Jews. Let them out." And Paro said no, and there was a big war. So it comes out that instead of the Jews being servants of the Egyptians, as they had been for 210 years, the Egyptians were now serving the Jews. They were starting to help the Jews to get out. The firstborn were helping the Jews to go to freedom. And that's what it says, Makig Mitzrayim b'Bechoreihem, that God smote the Egyptians not in their firstborn, but through their firstborn. So in other words, the world was starting to turn around, which that is a hint at the future redemption, when the whole entire world will come only to serve the creator of the universe. Okay, now we're going to come to a very touchy and unpleasant subject, and that is the subject of chametz. Oh, how to get rid of your chametz. I had the whole thing written down, but okay, let's go. In order to get rid of your chametz, now chametz is the ultimate enemy of the Jews on the holiday of Passover. And the reason is because Passover, we were like babies. Is the birth of the Jewish people. We're coming out of Egypt. Egypt was like being in the womb. That was one of the reasons it says the Paschal offering, the Korban Passover, was a sheep. And in the time of the temple, it could also be a goat. And they would eat it doubled over. It would be doubled over its head, it says, between its knees, because that's what the Jews were in Egypt. They were like a fetus with its head between its knees. They had no consciousness of God at all. When they got out of Egypt, so they were like a child being born. And a child, when he's born, he's very, very sensitive. Very sensitive. So therefore, chametz was forbidden. The reason why is chametz raises up. It's egotism. And egotism, if not used properly, it can be very, very dangerous. So like a little child, he has to go to school, he has to learn, he has to be, how do you say, surrendered to his teachers. Surrenders to his teachers. So in order to learn from the world, so the same thing when the Jews are going out, so they have to be surrendered. They can't have any chametz, no, have to get rid of egotism. After the holiday of Passover, and especially after we received the Torah, then it said it was the only time, except for what was called the Toda offering, Thanksgiving offering, the only time that they did bring chametz into the Holy Temple was on the holiday of Shavuot, when the Torah was given. But anyways, on Passover, you got to really watch out for chametz. And like I said, chametz is just water and wheat that was not watched, observed, so that it wouldn't rise up. Who does a thing like that? Only on Passover do you do a thing like that. So, and all regular, normal mixtures of bread and wheat are called chametz, and you got to get it out of your house. And there's 4 ways of getting it out of your house. I wrote it all down. And okay, 4 ways we do it. Number 1 is you have to check. That's called biur chametz. Biur chametz means you have to get it out. Now you have to get rid of all of the chametz a half a day before, 6 hours, 7 hours before Passover. 7 hours, basically 8 hours before the holiday of Passover, before the sun sets, and we begin the holiday of Passover. You have to get all the chametz out of your house. It's forbidden to eat chametz like 3 hours before midday, before Passover. 3 hours, 2 hours. It's forbidden to eat. It says in the 5th hour it's forbidden. In the whole entire 4th hour, up to the 5th hour. In other words, let's say if midday is 12 o'clock in the afternoon, when does Passover come in? It is on Wednesday, right? Passover, we said, is Thursday. Passover is Thursday. So on Wednesday, by Wednesday afternoon, let's say if midday is 12 o'clock, so you have to stop eating your chametz at 10 o'clock. Could be a little bit later. You'll have to check your clocks where you are. But you have to stop eating chametz at 10 o'clock. And you can't get any pleasure, you can't get any use from your chametz. You can't feed it to your dog or anything like that until 11 o'clock. And at 11 o'clock, you have to already stop eating chametz. Meanwhile, in all these days that we have now preparing, you have to prepare your house and get rid of as much chametz as you can. There's 4 ways of doing it. 4 ways of doing it. One way is bedikat chametz. You have to check your house. Check the house, clean up the house, and then before Passover, there's what's called bedikat chametz. You put 10 pieces of bread, wrap them all up first, to hide them around. You go and look for them with a candle and a spoon. And it's true, this is more symbolic than actual, because you have to get rid of all the chametz of your house. Clean your whole house out. Clean it out. Then there's another thing that you do is you sell your chametz. Any chametz that you might want to have. You have a bottle of whiskey, you have a box of cookies that you want to use after Passover, then you have to sell it, because it is forbidden to have in your possession any chametz. Even if you live in Israel and you have chametz, you have a beer factory in Russia, or a vodka factory in Russia, you have to sell that factory. You cannot own any chametz in the time of Pesach, so you have to sell it. So one thing, you have to check for it, and you have to sell it. A third thing you have to do is you have to bittul chametz. Bittul, you have to say, all of the chametz that I have, I don't want it anymore. It's not mine anymore. Make this declaration. And it's supposed to be in your heart also. That's for chametz you might not know about, etc. And then finally you have to burn the chametz. You have to burn the chametz. Any chametz which you have and you know about, the ideal way to get rid of it is by burning it. You have to get rid of the chametz by burning it. So there's really 4 ways. You have to clean it out, check it. You have to sell the chametz. You have to bittul the chametz, and you have to burn the chametz that you have, because chametz is a very bad thing. In Chassidut, it is explained the difference between matzah and chametz. It's the same exact letters. Both of them have the letters mem tzadik. Mem tzadik hey is matzah, and chet mem tzadik is chametz. The same letters. The difference between is matzah has a hey and chametz has a chet. The difference between the letter chet and hey is that chet is closed on the top, and hey has a little opening on the top. And that little opening means awareness of the Creator. Which, by the way, that's why religious Jews wear a kippah on there. It's called a yarmulke. Yarmulke means yirim malka, fear of God, that we're aware that our intellect goes up to here, and that God is the creator. He creates, he's much above our intellect. And that's the whole idea of the hay, of the matzah. They get this revelation and feeling that there's something totally above us. The whole world is not us. And this is the whole essence of Passover, the birth of the Jewish people. We have to be like babies. And chametz is totally forbidden. We have to get rid of it. We have to sell it. We have to negate it. We have to burn it. All these 4 things in order to get rid of any trace of chametz. Now, just one more thing. Not only is chametz forbidden, but also the taste of chametz is forbidden. So if you happen to have any vessels that were used for chametz, you cooked in them spaghetti or something like that, and they have the taste in the walls, as you have to get rid of that taste also. And also on your drain board, you have to get rid of it. So these things have to be done, what they call either hagala or libun. You have to kosher them. Basically, however they sucked up the taste, they obtained the taste of chametz, that's how you have to get it out. So things that you boiled spaghetti, so you have to take a big pot, you have to boil it and get the taste out of it, if you want to use it on Passover. If not, then you just put it aside and you sell it, or you sell the chametz, the taste of the chametz, which is inside of it. But so even little pieces, the smallest pieces of chametz, you have to check, and you have to clean the house. There was a woman who wrote to the Rebbe and said that her children are not helping out. They're not helping her clean. And the Rebbe said, that you have to clean for Passover, it's true, but you should know the dirt is not chametz, and the children are not servants of Paro. In other words, clean your house, and you should get rid of the chametz, but it has to be a happy experience. You're doing a good thing, a happy thing, preparing for a wonderful holiday. And so it should be for all of us, a kosher and a happy Passover. Get ready for the 3rd class, where we'll discuss a little bit about the day immediately before Passover.